Welcome to 2025. It's a new year, but I want to introduce to you Jim Nicholson. Got a phone call from Jim November, I believe, towards the end of November, and it just came totally out of the blue, and he wanted to make quite a significant donation to the food bank, and it was just one of those donations that just kind of struck an amazing chord. It wasn't just the amount, actually, but to some degree it was kind of the reason why they were doing it. But we're sitting right now at Thames Glass. You are the owner, one of the owners of Thames Glass.
Correct.
And you are not a Londoner anymore, but you have been a Londoner.
Correct.
Yeah. So I guess let's just jump into it. Why did you donate? So Jim and his wife, Brenda, donated $50,000 last year to the food bank. It was amazing. It was wonderful. But why did you want to make a donation to the food bank? Where did that come from?
Well, if you go back into the 80s, my wife and I, Brenda, we were residents of London. And I worked for a charter bank in London and moved on, and now we're back here in London with a business that's owned with my son and I, and we have 25 great employees, and we feel that we were very much appreciated and happy to contribute to the London Food Bank.
Yeah,
I still have ties to London.
Yeah, so and. So you just purchased this
3 years
ago. So, so your ties to London still continue. I should tell you, when I popped in before Christmas to pick up the donation and I met with your son, the lady at the front desk talked about what a wonderful family you were, and so Thames Glass had been a family business for 65 years.
Correct.
And you had a connection, so you purchased it. But that family feeling was continuing. So I think that's pretty amazing that you still were able to continue that as well.
Yeah. And this is a company that's, it's just well known. It's been around so long, and it's very successful. So we're glad to be part of it. So
this is the company that used to be in Old South. So now you're up on White Oaks Road because you've grown in terms of those things. Yeah. So where else does that? We were talking beforehand, and you were also talking about all the other donations you were making, because it's just not about food banks. It's about the hospital. Like, you've made a significant number of donations across. So where does that impulse come from you?
Excuse me. Well, it just comes from, I wanted to spread it around through mainly hospitals, and I wanted to change it up this year and give some money to the London Food Bank. We know that I read in the news how difficult it is with the food banks, and I know that you and your husband have done such a great job of operating and managing the London Food Bank, and I'm delighted to be able to help you along in this regard.
Yeah, and just to talk about the impact a lot. Obviously, in terms of $50,000, that's huge with regards to all the different programs or things that we can do. We were talking about obviously the increase and the increased demand on the food bank, and we happen to be lucky from the London perspective in terms of we've got such great donors like you that we've been able to keep up with that demand. Lots of other food banks haven't. It's been really, really difficult, but it kind of points to just how difficult it is across the whole country for so many folks. So your donation, and it's not just from you, obviously, and it's from you and your wife in particular.
Correct. That's right.
I think that makes it even more special to us in that context.
She couldn't be here today.
Yeah. You're also telling me a little bit about the story. You said was it your daughter who said, why London?
Yeah, when I visited my daughter on New Year's in Ottawa, I'd said how we were donating $50,000 to the London Food Bank, and immediately she said, "You live in Oakville, why London?" And I said, "Well, we've got 25 great employees that work in London with Thames Glass, and we felt obligated to help the city out and make things great, because you just never know."
Yeah. I think it's also a good sign in terms of, when we were talking earlier about family businesses aren't necessarily about location, right?
That's correct.
That you do have ties to London. You maybe live in a different city, but we are, a community, and a community isn't just London. It could be larger than that. So whether you actually live in the community or not doesn't matter. You are part of it in terms of those things.
And you're helping, normally you're helping an industry that's suffering and needs help, and of course, hospitals, they all need help as well. So Brenda and I want to do our share.
Actually, it's interesting. On the way here, Glenn and I were talking about what makes up a good society, and citizenship being part of it. But two of the main things is obviously people have enough food, but people have the access to the health care. And those, and shelter being obviously the third one. But those two things that you've been involved in are great because it actually provides a service for what we would consider to be more of a good society. So, yeah. So, I thank you. We were thrilled. I was thrilled to get the call in that context. But what I enjoyed even more was when you actually came down to the food bank and you came and you spent half an hour, 45 minutes with us, getting a bit of a tour and seeing all the things that were going on.
Well, it was interesting. Coming and visiting the food bank. Everybody that I've talked to, I said, "Have you ever been to a food bank?" And they all said no. And I said, "Well, it's interesting." I said, going through and watching how people that come in there and how they're handled and all the size of your building and all the variety of foods that you have. And it was very, very comforting to know that it's managed properly.
Yeah, it's so to us there's three really important parts of what the food bank and food banks in general, but there's obviously the clients coming in, but they're only a third of it. There's the donors, the people who actually give to us, and it's whether it's money or food that we feel ultimately responsible to as well. But then when you come down to the food bank, it's the volunteers, it's the people who are actually operating it. So all three components are really important. We can never say enough about how people who give us that trust, how that kind of inspires us as well. So I think when I met you and when you came down and you looked and you asked some great questions and we just showed you around, it was the fact that you and your wife wanted to do that was just, it wouldn't have mattered. The amount was amazing, but it wouldn't have mattered the amount, but that your enthusiasm for us was just inspiring as well. So.
We're certainly delighted to help such a great cause.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And have a happy
Delighted.
Have a happy 2025.
Exactly.